Welcome to the Fighting Irish Nation podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Culpepper, bringing you the background on the 98th version of Magic under Missionary Ridge. And why do I say that every time we do this podcast? Because this is the 98th season of Notre Dame football. We have been playing football at this school since 1927, which is an amazing statistic. The school was founded in 1876, which if you think about that, that was during the Ulysses S. Grant administration. So the history goes deep here. That's why I feel like we can call this Fighting Irish Nation, because it is a nation. It's global. It's worldwide. And there are people that are connected to this school literally all over the planet. And the reason for the podcast, folks, is to get engagement, honestly, with that group of people that is so special, that has had such a massive impact, both on the Chattanooga community and the country and really the world. And still, have for decades and still do. And we just are super excited about the direction of not just the football program, but the school. Really, the football program is an extension of the school, so that's why we do this every week. And we'll keep working to bring you great content, great guests, and just get you clued in on everything going on around the organization, because there is a lot to be excited about. This week I am super, super excited because it's game week, finally. I feel like we've been building up to this for months. And when you have as much momentum in the culture as we do, it's just really awesome to do. We'll get into that in just a second. The other thing I want everybody to kind of be aware of is the Fighting Irish Nation website. If you haven't gone there and checked it out, please go to fightingirishnation.boosterhub.com. There is a lot there. There's a lot of content there. There's stories there. There is a store there that's got amazing gear. You can buy anything from t-shirts to yoga mats on that thing. And it's just a great way to get geared up as we get into the fall. There's a game schedule for the varsity and the JV team. And there's just a lot of breaking news. We try to put things out there that right as they're happening, we want to get word to you there, and just use that as a way for you to stay organized with everything related to Notre Dame football. So let's get into it. Coach, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You ready for game week?
Oh yeah, always.
Okay. So what's been happening this week? Getting ready. I know you were working like game plan stuff late last night when we were texting.
Yes, we were. We met as a staff yesterday, and we're there kind of late last night trying to figure out what Grace is doing and get ready for them this week, and get our plans ready as far as practice schedule goes, and getting everything ready for the game.
Yeah,
basically.
So much to do. Folks, my guest this week is Coach Bo Campbell. Everybody knows Bo. Maybe some don't that are just hearing this maybe for the first time learning about Notre Dame. But as you know, I do an introduction. So I'm going to read an introduction on Bo because I feel like I could do it off the cuff. He's a great friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. We've known each other for years. But I'm going to read a little bit about him just so you kind of get a better idea of who we're talking to today. Bo's story begins with a childhood shaped by sports in Atlanta, Charlotte, Memphis, and Franklin, Tennessee. Although he didn't start football until middle school, his parents pushed him to stay active, determined that he wouldn't miss opportunities that they had. His father's regret at leaving sports too soon was one of those things that really drove Bo. He spent summers at Notre Dame college football camps, which ignited a lifelong love of the game. Football's in his family bloodline. His grandfather, known as Papa, was tied to the Buffalo Bills, so all the way up into the pro ranks. Bo excelled in sport. He's a great athlete, even becoming a backstroke and freestyle swimming champion before making his mark on the gridiron. Memorable high school moments include helping Battleground Academy, where he played high school ball, reach the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. At one point, I love this, scored on a 68-yard touchdown on a tight end screen that left him so exhausted that he ended up puking in the end zone, which is it's a bittersweet thing when that happens. Yeah. His play career took him to the University of Tennessee, where he played through from 1992 to 1996. After that, he was a GA there, which is a graduate assistant coach, in 1997, coaching linebackers under legends like Al Wilson. Or with legends like Al Wilson, his coaching path ultimately wound through Father Ryan, Chattanooga Central, Lakeview, Fort Oglethorpe, and Notre Dame, where he now serves as defensive coordinator. He's also been offensive coordinator at Notre Dame at another stint. At LFO, he served twice as head coach, stepping down at one point to prioritize family, but always returning to the sidelines. Bo credits his coaching influences with shaping a balanced philosophy. He mentions names like Kurt Page, Gary Smith, Cooper Woods, Coach John Chavis, and Coach Phil Fulmer, coaching every player as if they were his own son. Many of his former players are now coaches and teachers, a legacy of leadership and character. Family is at the center of everything Bo does. He's the oldest of four brothers who all played college football. Bo's also married to Erin Campbell, who herself is a record-setting All-American golfer at Tennessee, who also won the first TGA State Women's Open. Amazing accomplishment. Together, they have two children, Kinsey and Cooper, who both embody the same faith, character, and competitiveness, that their parents live by. Bo also brings the lighter side to the program. He's a music lover, community connector, and has even been a contestant on the North Georgia Dancing with the Stars competition, which I can't wait to hear more about. Above all, Bo believes God gave him gifts and talents meant to impact young lives, and his career has been a testimony to that mission. Super excited to talk to him today, so let's get into it. Coach, so what first pulled you into the game after trying so many other sports? How'd you end up becoming a football player?
Well, I'd always loved football. Watched, we're a Catholic family, so we were huge Notre Dame fans. Loved the Fighting Irish, watched them on TV all the time. Big fans of Notre Dame. And my dad is from Niagara Falls, New York, and my mom is she's from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So they met in college at Memphis State, which it's Memphis now, but used to be Memphis State. And we would go up to Niagara Falls and visit my grandfather, and I always loved watching football. He was the biggest Buffalo Bills fan. He would actually sneak a bugle. He was in the Army and had an old Army bugle, and he would bring it to the game and sneak it in and do the da-da-da-da-da-da, and everybody in the stands over there in our section would yell charge. And so the usher would come up there and try to figure out, like, where's this, trumpet coming from? We need to get this, we need to pick this up and confiscate and kick this guy out. And everybody around us knew him in the section, so no one would give him up, and they were going to look at an older guy, saying that he's doing it.
Right.
So it was kind of funny, and loved the Buffalo Bills. We went up there to watch them, and loved Notre Dame football. Went, like you said earlier, went to summer camps when I was in high school. But basically, my dad didn't want me to play football until middle school, and he was the same way with my brothers. At that time, I think he felt like there weren't enough younger, youth league coaches that knew about how to tackle the right way and how to block the right way and different things like that. So he kind of felt like he didn't want me getting injured at a young age or losing the love of football because I'm doing it the wrong way and getting bad habits. But my grandfather really didn't make him play a lot of sports. My dad was a really good athlete. I remember when I was younger, us going up to Niagara Falls, and they wanted him to play softball, men's league softball with them. My uncle and my two uncles, which were his brothers, were like, "Hey, come play softball with us." Well, he goes and plays softball, and he hadn't played softball in years, or baseball in years, and he goes out there and hits like 3 or 4 home runs. They stopped pitching to him.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, it shocked me, because I was like, I didn't realize my dad was this crazy of an athlete, And then, of course, my uncles are, telling me about him and stuff, but he would quit sports or not doing them anymore because, and his dad wouldn't make him stick with it. And uh, so he was really a big proponent on us sticking with sports and playing sports and putting us in as many things as possible. We were in soccer, and this is me and my brothers. We were in soccer, baseball, basketball, swimming, uh, just everything you could play except for football. It was crazy, and it kind of almost intrigued me more about football and made me want to play football more. And so he wouldn't let us do that till middle school. Uh, but I feel like by playing other sports, it really helped me become a better athlete, but then also learn from different coaches and learn different things from other sports and appreciate other sports. And, and I'll be honest with you, I truly and truly believe that other parents should really think about doing it that way, because even though there were times I hated it because he was making me do all these different sports, man, it kept me out of so much trouble. It kept me doing the right things. It kept me focused. Uh, and I think more kids nowadays need that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that even though I wasn't playing football, I was playing so many other things. And it's crazy. I hated my dad for it growing up, but then when I got older, I realized, oh my gosh, like this was the best thing he did for me. And so my daughter and my son, we did the same thing with. Me and my wife did the same thing with. We put them in multiple sports, and what's so cool about it is, we can go down to the lake and swim at the lake, and I don't have to worry about my kids because they were on swim teams and they were like competitive swimmers. So it's, I'm not as worried about them and their fear of the water because, they don't have that fear of the water as much because they've overcame that because of swimming or anything else. So um, I think that's I think that's something that really pushed my love of sports and pushed me to become a better person, not just a athlete.
Keeping it well rounded. Yeah.
Right.
That's I think there's something about Noah, like becoming a football player. It's something I've talked about this on the previous two podcasts. You have to be so passionate about it because it is so hard to do. I mean, football's tough. I mean, there's nothing like it. And one of the things I talked Coach Hill about was if you were going to talk to a parent, because I've heard this a lot from parents, is football seems dangerous. It seems like it's it's hazardous. There's all these things you hear about concussions, you hear about major injuries. And I'm a little bit nervous for my son to get involved with it. And, the response that I give, and then the Coach Hill also told me that he always gives is, but the trade-off is so good because it builds character. It just instills in you this work ethic, this ability to overcome adversity, this desire to never let yourself just kind of get knocked down and not get back up. You always have that drive to pull yourself back up and re-engage in whatever it was that, that knocked you down there and overcome it. And I don't know that anything else besides football does that. And so, I mean, that's what I think. What would you tell a parent that's whose son's kind of thinking about if they're just on the fence about letting him compete in football, like a middle school type age young man?
Well, you know, I feel like I feel like every sport teaches some different things, and every coach that you have teaches and coaches different ways. And to be exposed to that it makes you a better athlete, a better person. You think about it, you go through life and you're meeting different people and you have different bosses and you have to learn how to get along with them and please the different bosses you have. And it's the same deal with coaches, they're different styles. So but like I said, like, sports growing up did that for us. And then football, when football came about, and this is what I'll say, me and my wife, I don't know how many things we did right or wrong raising our kids.
They did a lot right, folks. Y'all see their children. They're great.
But one of the things we did right is involving them as many things as possible. And in football, I'll say this: football teaches a lot of things that the other sports don't teach. Um, you know, there's bumps and bruises. Like you have to come back the next day, and you got to fight through pain. You got to fight through adversity. You talk about concussions. There's concussions in every sport.
Mm.
I mean, there's concussions in basketball. I've coached all kinds of different sports throughout my career, whether it's high school, middle school, youth league, whatever. I've coached a lot of different sports. I actually coached girls at one time because, my daughter. So it's kind of one of those things where I've seen concussions in basketball. I've seen concussions in soccer. Soccer is a very big concussion sport. People don't realize that, but it really is. Uh, there's been concussions in swimming, when you're doing flip turns. I mean, I had a friend of mine that got a concussion doing a flip turn. So like there's so many ways you can get a concussion walking around at home, and slipping and falling. I mean, I just think that it's almost like the media or everything is kind of turned that into making it a bad sport, or that you need to be careful with your kid playing that sport. And I feel like, and who knows, one day when I pass away, they may say that, hey, I had too many concussions in sport. And I played a position in college. I played fullback and linebacker, and this was during the I days when it was power and ISO, and that was my job, is to go up into somebody as hard as I could and hit them as hard as I could. And back then, you're teaching, hey, you're going helmet to shoulder pads, and like you're hitting hard, or helmet to helmet. And it's kind of one of those things where, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think it teaches a lot of grit. I think it teaches a lot. There's a lot of air conditioned sports. That's one thing I talk about with different sports that I've coached is, a lot of kids nowadays, they want to play those air conditioned sports because it's too hot outside, and the heat's getting to them, and this and that. Look, when I have to go outside, like the other day, for instance, and trim my hedges, and it's really hot outside, I could decide to sit inside and not do anything, can stay in the AC, or I can go out there and try to beat the heat and go out there and trim my hedges. And I just think there's so many things that football teaches that other sports don't. You're sweaty, you're hurting, you're in pain, there's a lot of different guys out there. Football is the one sport, and there's a couple other sports like this that all 11 people have to do their job correctly for everything to work.
That's right.
And think about companies. Is that not what companies do?
Absolutely.
Is that not what you do for your future? Is like if we're going to be successful, everybody's got to pull their weight and do their job. And in football, you have to have 11 of them do it. And that's what's so hard about coaching football is if one person messes up, it can mess up the whole play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it teaches you so much about yourself and your own character, but then how important it is to connect to other people that maybe aren't exactly like you. That's one of the cool things about football to me is you get all walks of life. You get all socioeconomic backgrounds. You get every piece of the community represented in it. And one of the things you learn about it when you strip everybody down to the base level of what their character is and what motivates them is that we're all pretty similar, no matter what our background is. And it really draws that group of people close together. And it just teaches you so much about life. I think that it teaches you what's important, and I made the comment about the spiritual side of the game. How if you go to a college football game, you'll see a lot this week, but this week is week 0 in college football, and next week is the first big week. Watch before the game. If you're in the stadium, watch what these guys do. They all go take a knee and pray in the end zone. And that's because they've been driven into that because they're kind of been broken physically. And I don't mean broken as in injured. I mean, they've been driven to the very limit of what their body can do. And they've got to draw on the spiritual side of who they are. And that's one of the things I think that football does in a way that really no other sport can do. And that's one of the reasons why I've got 2 daughters. If I had had a son, I would have really tried to tell him what to do. But if he's considering athletics, consider something that gets him outside of his own ego, and then also drives him to the point physically that he is pushing it as hard as he can push it, that engages his spirit. Because I think that's, that's the deeper side of football. It gets very philosophical. I mean, people talk about golf being a spiritual Zen game. I think football's like physical chess, man. You do as a defensive coordinator, I mean, it's a very mental game played by very physical people. And if you can bring all that together, it's just nothing like it.
Well, and what you said earlier, I mean, you say on a normal football team, there's anywhere from 30 to 100 kids. And 30 to 100 players, and like you said, they're all different walks of life. They're all different family dynamics, all different backgrounds. And you have that many people that have to get along to believe in the same thing, in the same purpose, and back each other up and be brothers. They talk about, the brotherhood, and there's a reason why there's the band of brothers and different things like that. There's a reason why they say that.
Absolutely.
Because it is like that.
Yep.
And it helps you with your life. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's any better sport other than football that teaches a young boy how to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And how to grow up and be a man, and how to be accountable and responsible and dependable, and become a better husband, father. I mean, there's so many things you can relate to it. It is amazing.
Well, it teaches you to get out of your own head and make it about, not about just yourself, make it about other people, be others focused as opposed to self-focused or self-absorbed. And yeah, I mean, I think that's, if you're going to have a successful life, you have to be that way, and sometimes it takes a hard set of lessons to get to that point. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to live it. And when you've had it ingrained in you on the football field for years and years and years, you inherently kind of revert back to, well, what's the best thing for the team?
Right.
Not what's the best thing for me. It takes years to get there, but once you're there, that's how you think the rest of your life. Man, it helps you be a better father. It helps you be a better husband, better family member, better friend,
You said it right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a better family man, like I feel like that really, molded me into believing a lot of my career choices have been based, all of them have been based on my family.
Absolutely.
It hasn't been based on me and where I can get to. I mean, honestly, I'd be in college football coaching right now if it was about me.
Yeah.
Or
it would be too.
Or, I would still be a head coach.
Yeah.
If it was about me.
Yep.
So every decision that I've made has been based off of my family. Well, why is that? Well, I grew up in sports. I grew up in football where it was about the team, and you had to make decisions for the team. I had to go play this position for the team. I had to go make sacrifices here for my team. So yeah, I mean, there's no doubt.
Well, that's so well said. And one of the things Coach Hill said last week is that what means the most to him and his coaching staff is the kind of men he's assembled here. And you're such a great representation of that. It's not just about wins and losses. It's much deeper than that. And I think that's one thing that our whole Notre Dame community can be so proud of, is just the level of character that you and Coach Hill and really everybody on that coaching staff has. They can know that their football program in their school is represented by class act people, and that if their son plays on this team, they're getting treated by those coaches like they're their own sons. That absolutely that is happening, and that I don't know that it's like that way everywhere. I think you have to work really hard to get a group of people together that truly have that in them. So,
and I think, I was thinking about this the other day. There's a lot of great coaches out there that do it the right way. I mean, there really are. I've got a lot of friends in coaching. I've got a lot of former players that are coaches, and I see them doing those things sometimes, and or most of the time, where they're being a father first and trying to treat every kid like their son. And I think that's the most important thing, because if it were my son on the team and you were coaching my son, I would hope you would do the same thing. And there's so many kids nowadays. I'll be honest with you, there's so many kids nowadays that don't have the presence of a father.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And because they don't have that, they're missing something in their life. And you know, you there's so many single parent households right now, and a lot of them the father is missing. And we coach some of the kids like that, and I feel like we have to someone's got to step in and be that father figure. And because if we don't, then there's going to be a time in life where this this young man, whatever, is going to grow up and maybe not be the father that he could be. And so I think that's very important. I always thought about, when I was a head coach, I always thought, okay, if my son was on this team, would I be proud and excited for my son to play on this team? Would I be proud of the things that they do? One of the things when I was the head coach at LFO was we raised $15,000 every year, every summer. And I had some generous donors help out with that, and to take them to FCA camp. And because it was important to me,
Right.
because this was a time that they could get, and it was total voluntary, okay, but we raised the money to where, hey, you want to go for free? Here we go. And we would take our team, and they got closer to God. We got to be able to sit down and talk about their family lives and different things like that. And we're kind of doing a lot of the same thing at Notre Dame, where we're sitting down talking to them about what at home and what's going on, so that we can have that relationship with them and help them wherever they need help. And there's a lot of, you look at like Blindside, the movie, there's a movie about, one coach and one family that's helping out a kid, but this happens all the time, like all the time.
Yeah, and it's, Coach Hill mentioned last week he was on that coaching staff, Michael Ower, with on Hugh Freeze's coaching staff at Briarcrest when all that was happening. So, yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think our program's connected to, that whole type of situation. But you mentioned some big names that you've been around, obviously, in your playing career and your coaching career, like John Chavis and Coach Philip Fulmer. What is a lasting lesson you carry from those guys? Is there any? I know when you get up to that level, it's a little different than it is when you're in, in the community or in high school coaching. But once you got up to college, what's something you could draw from them?
Yeah, I think even like you said, going back to high school, I had three different style coaches. I played football, basketball, and baseball all through high school. Wanted to quit basketball and baseball to play football, because I felt like I could go to the next level in football. And my dad said, no, you quit one, you're quitting them all. And so it made me play all three of them all the way through high school. And I had one coach that was the cool coach. My baseball coach, Cooper Woods, was really cool, like let me call my own pitches, because I knew I was the catcher. I knew what these pitchers were good and bad at, and was kind of one of those fun, like best friend kind of coaches. And then I had a basketball coach, Gary Smith, that was, strict. Man, it's all about technique, and you run things perfectly, execution. And, he was kind of that kind of guy, very disciplined. And then my high school coaches, Coach Kurt Page and Coach Danny Francescan, were Coach Fran was the get up in your face, rah guy, and could pull stuff out of you that you didn't realize you had. Coach Page could pull stuff out of you that you didn't know what you had, but he did it in a different way. It was more of a belief, like, look, I believe you can do this, and I'm going to put you in a situation to do it, and you're going to do it. So, those coaches kind of helped mold me as a coach and as a player. But then getting to college, Coach Fulmer's the reason why I went to Tennessee. He was the recruiter at the time. Coach Majors was the head coach. This was in 92. And I remember him coming to visit me to school, and I wanted to go to Notre Dame because I'd gone to all the camps, wanted to play for Coach Lou Holtz, and they didn't offer me a scholarship, and it was going to be a lot of money for me to go there. And I had some scholarship offers at smaller schools, and so I decided. Coach Fulmer walks in there, and he's talking to me and Coach Page, and he was like, I'll tell you what, if you come to Tennessee, if you walk on at Tennessee, I'll bring you in with the scholarship players and everything. And you're going to get some money anyway for your academics and different things like that. But I really want you to walk on. And if you bust your butt, we'll turn it into a scholarship eventually. And so I had trusted in him that, and I wasn't a huge Tennessee fan, to be honest with you. Like, I hated the orange.
It's so hard to believe, people. That is so hard.
I mean, I wasn't a Tennessee.
I bleed orange right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a Tennessee fan. And it's funny how things work out. I think God does things for a reason and puts you in places for a reason. But Coach Fulmer taught me into coming to Tennessee. And he was a player's coach, man. Like, he was one that really was really good about talking to you, and if you're in need, come talk to him. And was kind of a caring coach. Coach Majors was more of the authoritative figure. I remember in practices, Coach Majors, we'd go out for practice, and Coach Majors would go up to the top of this big old pavilion, and he would look down, and he had his megaphone with him, and if a coach wasn't doing it right or a player wasn't doing it right, he was on the megaphone calling them out. But it was kind of funny. I never thought he even knew my name. That's how he was. Like, he was kind of that figure that you just never really talked to.
Approachable.
You just played for. Right. And I remember after practice one day, he came up and put his arm around me. He's like, I'll tell you what, Bo Campbell, you're doing a great job. And I looked at him like, man, I didn't even think you knew my name.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This was my freshman year, and it was like, well, I must be doing something right.
Absolutely, you were.
So it was kind of cool. But Coach Farmer was kind of like that. And I'll tell you, Coach Chavis was that guy that, man, was up in your face. Like, he would ring you out in a heartbeat. He was who I GA'd for. Coach Farmer was the one that kind of worked out me being a graduate assistant. Because he believed that I could be a good coach, and he's the one that really got me into becoming a coach, because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so that's when I decided to get into teaching and coaching, and so he put me with Chavis, who was my linebackers coach. And when I was with Chavis, GAing, he would make me draw out all these cards and watch this film. This is back when you had the VCR stuff where you're rewinding the cowboy remote, all this stuff, and I'm trying to figure all this stuff out these other teams are running. And I look back on it, and it really molded me into becoming a really good X's and O's coach, because he was making me do, at the time I thought he was just making me do busy work.
Right.
But it really made me learn the game, X's and O's. So I appreciate that. And then I had Coach Cutcliffe at the time, which Coach Cutcliffe was the kind of guy you come talk to, and was a great guy, really good person that would talk to you and believe in you. And then John Stuckey, who was our strength coach, awesome old man, who was the guy that really brought Olympic lifting back into like the football programs and stuff. And there's so many strength coaches that I could go through that's like a family tree that are unbelievable strength coaches nowadays. But he was one of those guys you come talk to too. So, I was blessed to have these guys as coaches. And what's so cool, when I was interviewing for head coaching jobs, like I walked in the secretary's office, and after I'd applied, and I was like, hey, let's make sure you got my application. And, when I was at LFO in interviewing for the job, she was like, you'll never believe who called me today, Coach Fulmer and Coach Cutcliffe, So So it was kind of cool that these guys, you know, they're part of your family. You know, it didn't surprise me, but then again, it's pretty cool they did that. And, you know, it took time to do that.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. That's how I got in the carpet and rug business is Bobby Johnson, who was my coach at Furman when I was there. You know, Bobby Johnson did at Vanderbilt later, but he connected me with alumni that had a company, and that's kind of how I got into it. And he did it. I mean, he called me, just say, "Hey, how are you?" And people don't realize that's how these coaches are. Yeah. I mean, these celebrities. I mean, Philip Fulmer. You know, this is a famous person, but he still is concerned about his players. I mean,
it's that bond we talked about with football. It's that bond.
It is, and I think they're all that way at some level. Some more, you know, are able to express it more, especially when they get up in years. Maybe it's not quite the same, but man, it is that way for sure.
It's that blood, sweat, and tear bond.
It is.
It really is.
So when you got to LFO and Notre Dame, I think at both of those stops, you've been part of turnaround efforts, right? So what would you say as you were shaping those programs? What was your experience? What's been your experience at both, and what do you draw from that?
Well, when I got into coaching, and I decided I didn't want to do college coaching, I decided I wanted to do high school coaching for the simple fact that I felt like I could shape kids' lives better at the high school level. I also told myself that I didn't want to go to a program, and this may sound cliche or whatever, but it's honest to God true. I wanted to go to programs that were bad. And I wanted to help turn around programs, and I wanted to help kids that didn't believe they could go play college ball, maybe go play college ball or have a chance. And that was kind of my goal was, and it goes back to I guess it goes back to my high school experience. Like I was on a team that was terrible. Like I was at Father Ryan my freshman year, then transferred to BGA. And then at BGA, my sophomore and junior year, I was ineligible my sophomore.
So that was kind of a turnaround too, right?
Right. Yeah. So like my sophomore year, I was ineligible. And then my junior year, we were like 1-9. But then my senior year, we went to the playoffs for the first time in like 20 years.
Okay.
So it was kind of one of those things where I saw that hard work and you know, could help a team win that. And then I started seeing, okay, what are the, you know, what could give a team hope and different things like that. And then when I left Tennessee, Kurt Page, my old head coach, was at Father Ryan at the time.
Right.
I went, and my youngest brother was over there too. It's funny. So I kind of helped coach my youngest brother.
Okay.
And he was a center at Father Ryan. And so I go over there. Father Ryan is the strength coach and the linebackers coach, and they had won the state championship in '97 when my brother was the quarterback, and then they had kind of gone downhill. So it was kind of the turnaround. So I really learned from Kurt Page. Really taught me a lot about how to turn around a program, because he did it in high school for me in my high school experience, but then he did it started doing it for my brothers too. So like it was kind of crazy. And so I coached with him for a couple years, and then my wife actually she was working in public relations, not getting paid a lot of money. Neither one of us were getting paid a lot of money, and she got a pharmaceutical sales job offer in Chattanooga. And it was kind of weird because she went golfing with her mom, and you know they don't let you play twosome in golf. So basically, they partnered them up with these two guys, and one of them was a pharmaceutical rep for Pfizer. And so she actually got a job out of playing golf because they were impressed with our golf game.
Wow.
And that was back.
Well, it'd be hard not to be impressed with that golf game.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. So it moved us to Chattanooga, and man, I tell you what, I've loved Chattanooga. It's been the best.
I was going to ask you kind of what you're feeling about how moving here. You've been here a while now, right? I mean, it's quite different from Memphis, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Memphis And, I was born in Atlanta, moved to Charlotte for about a year, then my parents moved back to Memphis because my dad had been working for my grandfather, which was his father-in-law,
Okay.
at the airport. And so he was big in the restaurants at the airports. And so anyway, it moved us back to Memphis. I lived there till I was about 11, and then we moved to Franklin. So it was kind of helped mold me too, because I was around, the city of Memphis, and then turn around and I'm in the country of Franklin. Right. Back then it was like backwoods country.
Yeah.
So
It was rural back
yeah,
then.
there wasn't. It's not like it is now.
No, not at all.
But yeah, well, I had been, and then go to Knoxville to play ball.
Yep.
Right. And I'd been to Chattanooga this whole time, one time.
I guess that's the next stop, right?
Right. So I took Chattanooga one time, and it was like, we really didn't go to Chattanooga to do anything.
Yeah.
And so back then we had Nashville and I had Knoxville, and so when we moved to Chattanooga, man, I tell you what, it has been the best place to raise a family.
It is.
And so I think, again, God does things for reasons. I think there's a reason we moved here, and so, I was in sales for about 3 years when we moved here, and then got into coaching, and I was just looking online one day, and Chattanooga Central was looking for a linebackers coach, and I was like, I could work sales and then go coach too a little bit and help out. So I end up, and I noticed, they were not that great. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna go over there and help out. So I called the guy at the time, was Kurt Jones, was the head coach, and meet with him, and he was like, man, you got a lot of knowledge of the game. I'm just gonna go hire you as a defensive coordinator. And I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll do that. And so did that, and then he left, and then became the head coach at Central. And it was a turner, it was trying to get it turned around. And it was like, you work hard, you give the players hope. We had a great time. They had a bunch of great players I coached. They were just great kids and worked their tails off to become really good, and was doing all this. And then all of a sudden my wife gets laid off her pharmaceutical job, and she's pregnant.
Oh, man.
And so, and we had just bought a new house. And it was like, oh my, I was like, what is going on? Obviously I need to figure this out somehow. And luckily I got offered a job to go to LFO as a defensive coordinator, which at that time I was getting paid more in Georgia as a coordinator than as a head coach in Tennessee. So ended up going down there, and again, it was a turnaround. And we did a pretty good job. We actually, one of the years, upset Cartersville. Just did some things that they hadn't done in a while, except beat Ringgold. We hadn't beat Ringgold still. And so then I got offered a job as a DC to go to Notre Dame. Well, my daughter was at OLPH in the Catholic community.
Okay.
So I was like, I could leave as a DC at LFO, but then keep my job there as a teacher, because I wanted to keep my retirement going in the state of Georgia. And so taught at LFO, and then went over there as the D coordinator. It was another turnaround, and we got to the semifinals twice, lost to Alcoa, got turned around. I actually got offered the head job, and Coach Fant was there at the time as the OC. And he was like, they offered me the head job. I said, no, I'm trying to stay at LFO for my teaching career. And I was like, have you thought about getting out of sale? Like, he was in financial consultant or whatever. And I asked him, and he said, I'll take it. So if you stay here as a DC. So I stayed there as a DC. And then the guy at LFO left, and they offered me the head job to come back to LFO. And so I love those kids at LFO. So I decided, hey, you know what? They need me. I'm going to go take the head coaching job over there, get it turned around. And so worked to turn it around, and we beat Ringgold for the first time in like 13 years. In 3 years in a row, beat them. And so it was like, you would have thought we won the state championship. Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm trying to win a state championship, and they're just excited we beat Ringo for the first time in 13 years. So, everywhere, and then my son, the reason I'm in Notre Dame is, again, I think God does things for reasons. My wife and son Cooper sat me down one day, which is hard to do sometimes because I'm running all over the place. But they were pretty emotional about him going to Notre Dame, where we had sent my daughter Kinsey,
Right.
who had a great experience at Notre Dame, not just in her faith, in God, but also with academics and athletics, and so they were real emotional about it. And I told my wife, I was like, you do realize I'm gonna have to step down as the head coach now at LFO to send our son at Notre Dame. And our original plan was, when I went back to LFO, was to send Cooper to LFO with me.
Okay.
And so it changed over time. And I think what changed it is our experience and the way we witnessed what Notre Dame did for our daughter.
Yeah.
And I think that was the big change.
I think it's important for everybody to know your role in, I consider you in many ways the architect of the turnaround at Notre Dame. I know you won't take credit for that, but the reason why I say that is you span the years. You were around it when it was at a high level. You helped the program fight through things when they have not been going well. You were very involved with reorienting the coaching staff, very connected to Coach Brent Hill, obviously. And now, we're pushing into a new season with a lot of momentum. I think we're going to see much different results. I know we'll see different results over time. I'm real anxious to see how we perform on the field this year. I know we're going to be competitive. But through all of that, at every level, whether it's on the field, off the field, being connected to the Notre Dame community, being invested in it because you love it. What would you say are the biggest changes you've seen over the past 2 years? From where it was at the low spot to kind of where it is today as we're getting into a new football season and a new school year. How would you characterize the changes around the football program and the school? Because we've got a lot of new leadership and a lot of new people involved in this right now. So how would you sum it all up?
Yeah, I've been impressed with it. I've been, proud to be part of it. It goes back to what I said earlier, is I always wanted to, as a head coach, run a program that my own son would be proud of and could be involved in. And, when I first came back to Notre Dame, I noticed there were some things missing. And I think we were trying to work on some of those things, but, whether it's red tape, whether it's, people getting burnt out, whatever it is, it just wasn't happening. And I think the changes, and it's hard, you go home to your wife and your wife looks you in the face and says, okay, why aren't they doing this? Why isn't the program doing this? Why isn't the program doing that? Because you did that stuff at LFO.
Right.
And so then it creates almost an argument between me and my wife. Is like, well, if you would have brought him to LFO when I was their coach, this stuff would be happening. But at the same time, it's like, I know the reason why he's at Notre Dame is because of the faith and the academics and the true reasons why. Mm-hmm. And so, it caused a couple arguments with me and my wife a little bit, but I think what we've tried to do over time is change the way that we're doing things. And the great thing about when Coach Fan decided to leave, they were looking for a head coach, and one of the things they did is and they came to me, and I know you were involved in that, and some guys that knew about football and new coaches and different things like that were involved with figuring out, okay, who would be a great next guy. And it's kind of funny how all that worked out is, we're looking at the resumes, and I see some people I know, and Brent Hill's on there, and I'm wondering, is that the same Brent Hill I know? Because in the past I had gone down to meet with him because he was a great program turnaround guy too.
Sure.
And I'd heard from him from one of my friends that knew what I was doing at LFO to turn it around, and had said, hey, there's a guy I know down in Opp, Alabama, that I'm good friends with his brother. And you know what, if you want to go down and visit him, he's turned around that program down there. And I was, and that's one thing about me is I'm like a lifelong learner. I learn stuff every day. I love learning new things every day. I don't think that I know everything, because I don't. And you can always learn something from somebody, whether it's good or bad. And that's what I tell people all the time. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go down. And so I contacted him. We went down there and visited him and talked ball with him. He had some great things that I was taking notes on. And so, when he was on that list, we decided to come down to the final 7 or 8. And, I tried to stay out of it as much as possible because I didn't want to say, hey, this person is one of my friends. He would be great. This like, and when they, the board decided to hire Brent, I was excited because I knew that he would have been probably my first pick, to get him up here. And so it worked out well. And he's done so much things culture wise to help change the program. Not just culture, but then not just the mental side of it, the physical side of it too. Like, our locker room just got redone, different things that he's really working on changing some things to because these kids are working hard. They deserve great things. And, it's kind of in hiring Eric Shea Snyder, I think was a big thing because he's a culture guy too, wants to change the program. He's going to work to really help Notre Dame as well. Not that Notre Dame's been bad. I think Notre Dame has always been a great school. There's a reason why it's still in existence. There's a reason. Okay, there's some things working there. The way they get kids closer to God, to help their relationship with God. The way their academics have always been great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Athletics have been up and down. But athletics is not always going to be there. But your faith and your academics will always be there. So I just think there's right now we've got so much momentum going on, and it's exciting.
That's exciting to hear about. Just to move to X's and O's a little bit, your defensive philosophy. How would you characterize it, and then what should we look for on the field this year based around your philosophy and then the personnel you have that you're working with on the defense this year?
I think coaching philosophy has to do with what you have.
Yeah.
It's not like people don't realize, and there's high school coaches that really don't realize this, that you got to look at what you have every year and try to put them in the right positions to be successful. You can't, in college, I can recruit exactly, if I want to run this style offense or this style defense, I can recruit to that. In high school, you can't. So you get what you get. So you have to look at what you have and how can you put them in spots to be successful. So you can't really be, if you talk to a lot of college coaches, this is funny, but if you talk to a lot of college coaches, they'll tell you that high school coaches are smarter than college coaches.
I believe that.
And the reason why they say this is because, and it's true, the reason why they say this is because you have to know different style.
I can't be married to anyone.
Yeah. You have to know different style defenses. Like you can't be married to one thing. And so you got to always be learning. And so that's why high school coaches go to these clinics, is to learn, okay, well, maybe I need to change this defense or this offense because of my personnel that I have this year. So I think you've got to look at that. I think my defensive philosophy has always been, what do I have? How can I help them be successful? This year is kind of funny, but this year we're running kind of a different style defense than I've ran in a while. So like, it's 3 high safety stuff. It's a little bit different than the normal. I've always been a multiple 3-4 guy. So we can get in a 3-4, we can get in a 4-man front. And the reason why I think in high school you have to be kind of multiple is because you're facing different offenses every week sometimes. Again, let's talk about college. So that these college coaches see a wing T one week, and then the next week they see a spread. Then the next week they see a flex bone offense, like option offense.
No.
Then the next week, there's a reason why Georgia Tech was so successful running the flex bone.
Right.
Because college D coordinators are not used to defending it.
It's a shock.
And you got to get ready for it in 1 week.
What's a cut block?
Yeah. So you think about it, high school coaches have to deal with that every year.
That's right.
Not just one game. There's multiple games. So we're going to run more of a 3-high defense because we've got a lot of good skill guys where we can put more speed on the field. We've got a great group this year, a great group of kids that I think we're better athletically this year across the board. But also, I think these guys are smart too. And we'll find out this Friday night. I mean, in the scrimmages, they've shown a lot of effort and stuff. So we just got to fix some little mistakes. But outside of that, I'm excited for this year for our guys.
What do we know about Grace? Like, what have you seen so far on film? And
Grace is pretty decent. Their offense coordinator actually is one of my buddies that I got into coaching, Toby McKenzie, and he's one of my good friends. And he does a pretty good job with them on offense. And they're not a bad team. That they're getting back into 11-man football now. I think they got about 28, 30 kids.
They went through kind of a reset due to the facilities issues they ran into, right?
I heard they've got all that worked out with the facilities, but I haven't seen any building.
Was it destroyed in the tornado? Is that what happened? It said, this school has been through a lot. So, a lot of respect to them fighting through all that and kind of getting back out there with this.
Yeah, they've kept it alive and kept the school alive and a lot of the athletic programs alive. So, I think they've been fighting for the right things. It's just with the insurance, I guess it was insurance or something I heard, and I think they've got it worked out finally now. So
okay.
From what I've heard from other people, so hopefully that's true.
That'd be exciting to watch it. I'm just so glad there's a football game this week. We had some this past weekend. Did you watch any?
Yeah, I watched some. Got on NFHS. I didn't want to actually go out to a game, but got on NFHS and watch some games.
It's almost like it was weird. I'm not quite ready for it, but I will be Friday night. This past weekend it's still 95 degrees, man. It's weird except for a ball. But where do you see things? I know we've talked about kind of the initial transition into a new regime at Notre Dame as far as the football program goes, but where do you see it over the next 2 or 3 years? Like, what should the community look for as far as the evolution of the program?
I just think the one thing that I've always noticed about Notre Dame is the involvement hasn't really boomed. And when I say involvement, alumni, I don't think they've ever really done a tremendous job of getting the alumni back involved. And I don't know if it's them not doing a great job or it's the alumni not getting involved or if it's a little bit of both. I don't know, but like to me, it's kind of like you're talking about turning around a football program.
Mhm.
I think we need to turn around the alumni.
Well, that's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah.
It's to draw on all that. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, you got a school that's been in this, we were talking about it earlier, in existence since what, 1876, I guess it was. And you would think we're the oldest private high school in Chattanooga. So you would think that we have alumni like all over the place and that can help this school and help get it rolling even more, because, one thing that Notre Dame's working out of right now is, I mean, I tell people sometimes, when I first went back there the first time, the one thing I noticed is I felt like we were stuck in the 90s still,
Yeah.
And like, for instance, there's a lot of these programs have an artificial turf field. Like, we're the only private school now in Chattanooga, I think, that doesn't have an artificial turf field.
Yeah.
And then I think we're the only Catholic school in the state of Tennessee that doesn't have an artificial turf field. So it's like we need to catch up. We need to catch up. And I think we do a lot of great things, but I think facility wise and different things like that, we've really got to catch up. And that goes back to the alumni getting involved and starting these campaigns and making it bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, the football team is the marketing arm of your school. That's, if you look at, I may have said this before on a podcast, but if you look at the University of Tennessee right now, I think the acceptance rate is right around 30%. I think 5 years ago it was closer to 70%. What's happened at the University of Tennessee recently? They've gotten really dang good at football. Clemson University went through the same thing, where the year they made the playoffs for the first time, their acceptance rate dropped. Now, what that means is there's more kids applying than there are slots available for students to go to that school. And even if you are not tied to the football program in any way, it has an impact on everything about that school. And so that's why you need a strong football program. If you look around Chattanooga right now, the schools that are booming have strong football programs. Macaulay has a strong football program. Baylor has a strong football program. These schools are, in growth mode, and they're having big impacts, with what they're doing. That is just a truth, whether, you're at the high school level or you're at the college level. And so why should I invest in the Booster Club and Finding Irish Nation, which is our booster club? Why should you get involved with that? It's going to have an impact on this school. And I think we need to be more worthy as a community of the school than we are right now. To your point, I think we need to do a better job of being proud about it, of getting behind it with our time, our treasure, and our heart, and truly stand up and execute a plan for taking this thing into the next 20 years. And I hope we have leadership now in place. I believe we have leadership in place now that can really spearhead that. But yeah, I think a turf field is table stakes. We got to get a facility plan together to not only put a turf field out there, enhance our entire infrastructure. And you'll hear more about that as time goes on. I'm certainly going to be pushing that. The Booster Club's going to be involved with that. But there's no reason not to do it. And there's no reason to be on par with the teams we compete with. We need to be better than they are. And that's a heck of a thing to sit here and say when you've been stinking it up on the football field for 4 years. But that's not who we are. We're about to show who we are.
Well, I mean, you think about it, when was it? 6-7 years ago,
Yeah.
we lost in the state championship. Notre Dame lost in the state championship. Where was the push after that?
Yep.
Like, there should have been a huge push.
Right.
I think you talk about Baylor and Macaulay. Why are they so successful and put so much money into it? Is because their alumni is giving.
That's right.
They're giving that money. They're getting involved in it. Whether it's them, the alumni being involved on their own, or whether it's Baylor and Macaulay reaching out more to the alumni and getting them involved. So I think that's where we need to go as a school. Is Notre Dame needs to do the same things and kind of, now Do we need to do exactly the way Baylor and McCallie do? No, because we're different. We're different.
Very different in good ways.
But I think we need to do a better job of that. And, you talk about football. Okay, right now, Notre Dame's sitting at probably 390, 400 students. All right, 58 of those students, okay, are football players.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. So,
that's a big shift.
That's a big percentage
It is.
of the school that are football players.
Yeah.
So because of that,
The football team's double, folks, basically from what it was a couple of years ago, as far as the number of players.
well, because of that, they're some of the leaders in school. And so now your school is going to be kind of revolved around a lot of that. So, and like I said, I think administration right now is doing a better job of trying to get a lot of things fixed. I pull into Notre Dame sometimes and I'm seeing things get fixed, new outer doors, new this, new that. And they're really working on, and it's a process. Like it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like immediately. Mm-hmm. And you think about like turn around a program, it's the same way. You can't walk into a program and win automatically unless you've got just really good athletes out there.
Right.
But if you walk in a program and you want to get it turned around, trust me, it takes time and it takes hard work over time. And that's where Notre Dame's at right now. It's going to take hard work over time to be successful. But if you're willing to be patient and give it that hard work and time and get the alumni involved and them be involved over time, then it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's the big message is that we are on a turnaround. We do have momentum. We are led by great men like you, like Coach Hill, who we talked to last week. And there's just so much to be excited about. Coach Campbell, thank you for joining us today and for giving us such a great look into your journey, your philosophy, and the heart you put into this program. It's clear that football, Notre Dame football, is more than just X's and O's to you. Your family involvement with it, the way you were drawn to it, the way you're still involved with it is just a blessing, really, to the whole community. So thank you for being here, and good luck this Friday night.
No problem. I appreciate you having me, and wanted to give a shout out to my wife and kids. My wife's the ultimate coach's wife, and during season she understands. I've got pretty much 58 other sons that we're trying to help, and she's always been great with our kids while that's happening, and been involved with every program and every game that I've been in. Like my kids as young kids grew up in it, and it's been great for all my kids, and like I said, Notre Dame's been a great place for both my daughter and my son.
That's awesome.
And appreciate it. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.